Please speak in no evil, and there's some subservience on Rebel Ridge. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Offscreen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Hello and welcome back to Offscreen. We have a plethora of movies to talk through with you today. Van Connor, of course, has seen them all, and that's why he's the reviewer and I'm the host. So we've got Rebel Ridge, we've got Speak No Evil, we've got Lee, but let's start with a sci-fi thriller with Megan Fox in it. It's called Subservience.
Right, before I descend into the absolute delight of talking about subservience, which I have been so chomping at the bit to discuss with you, my friend, I can't wait. But we need to take a moment just to acknowledge the sad passing this week of the one and only James Earl Jones.
Oh, I know.
Darth Vader, Mufasa, James Earl Jones passed away this week at 93. A man so epic, this is how epic James Earl Jones was, that when they remade The Lion King in live action, they didn't even bother trying to recast Mufasa. They were just like, nah, who do you... It was like physics. You just couldn't recast Mufasa. They just got James Earl Jones back. That's how epic he was. Everyone else recast. James Earl Jones stays in place. So rest in peace to James Earl Jones this week.
Do you know, I had to obviously talk about it on my show, and what I didn't know about James Earl Jones is up until the age of about 11, he didn't speak. Yeah. He was a mute because of his stuttering. And so he overcame all of that and became the world-renowned actor that he is, or was.
Could you imagine like an 11-year-old like speaking for the first time and he speaks with the voice of James Earl Jones? Like,
Yes.
Wouldn't that be the greatest like karmic payoff like in history? That would be epic.
Good morning, Mum.
That's absolutely a moment for like a biopic kind of a thing there. Anyway, So James Earl Jones passed this week. It was very sad news, and that was one of those things. It was like when Christopher Reeve passed. It was like, wow, this is one of the real icons of cinema has gone. You know, we get very few of them still around that do pass now. And Anyway, so we're on with something completely off tone. Then let's talk about Subservience, which you summed it up as sci-fi thriller with Megan Fox, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna simplify this one for you. What if Megan, remember Megan, the little killer doll movie from about 18 months ago? What if Megan, but sexy adult, and it's Megan Fox? Okay, that's the pitch for this movie. Yes, right? Every now and again, Hollywood just cracks the formula. You know what I mean? Every now and again, they just accidentally get it right, and they deliver the perfect concept for a movie. They maybe don't pull it off, but they do deliver the perfect concept for a movie. What if sexy fembot Megan Fox is just perfect? That's it. You've got me for a movie. Okay, so this one, though, it kind of plays sort of halfway between Orphan and The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. So the idea here is, so that kind of pitch. So it's set in a sort of Black Mirror-ish, 5 minutes in the future version of the future. It's still our world recognisably, but they're slightly 5 years further along in like general day-to-day AI. And household synths or like household helper bots are relatively the norm, and they are treated the same way that you would treat like, a home assistant or, she with the A name, lest our listeners be listening to a smart speaker. We don't want to trigger anyone. And in this family, you've got the dad who's looking after the kids, one of whom is like 6 or 7 years old, another one whom is a toddler, whilst the mum is in hospital having cancer treatment, and he gets a home assistant bot to like work as the nanny / housekeeper. Said assistant is Megan Fox. Now, obviously, the movie loses all credibility right about the point that he shows up to a hospital room like 20 minutes in and says, "Hey, hospitalized wife, I bought this to help me out at home," and it's Megan Fox, and she just goes along with it. Like you and I know, right? There's no one in history would. No one. Anyway, so obviously the reality dies there.
I think the main question would be, just how real is she?
She really is just fembot Megan Fox. That's the idea. Anyway, so because, like I say, this is a sort of Orphan Hand That Rocks the Cradle riff, Megan Fox, through having deleted various files by request, sort of accidentally hijacks her own OS and takes the command to look after the husband's best interests very, very seriously. And this starts to get literally murderous. So have a listen to Subservience.
Of your medication, it would be quite easy to lose consciousness and slip under the water. Imagine how upset Nick would be if you die.
What's wrong?
She won't live long, Nick, but I figured out a solution. You do so much for everyone. Let me do this for you.
We let these take over the world, but we didn't stop it. The things we've been doing, we can't do it anymore.
I can't let that happen.
As you know, I love the concept of movies like this. I loved Megan. I loved Ex Machina. So this, for me, on paper, should be an amazing movie.
Yeah, kind of like Megan. There's a bit of Upgrade, if you remember Upgrade, the Lee Whannell movie in there as well. That was pretty. Yeah, this has a sort of similar vibe to that in terms of how it handles its sci-fi stuff, and it's good fun, and it romps along. You've got Michelle Morone, who I know as a musician, to be honest, as the male lead. He's the dad. You've got Madeline Zima, who creepily I still remember from Californication, so her role here is kind of interesting to me with the passage of time. And then, of course, the scene stealer, and the one who owns the movie. Naturally enough, it's just Megan Fox as the Megan Fox bot, which just right. This is going to sound like me being really harsh, but I promise, just take this in the spirit in which it's intended. Megan Fox has never been one of our great thespians. Okay, like we know this. We can all acknowledge we were never going to see Megan Fox win an Oscar, right? Like, no one's expecting to see her in an award-winning Shakespeare production anytime soon. However, this is the perfect use of Megan Fox. She is pitch perfect. Her sort of range and skill and that sort of deadpan, seductress comedic timing that she sort of can't shake really works here. Like, it's not necessarily iconic, because for one thing, the sort of outfit, she looks a bit too much like Wednesday, like a sort of a Wednesday cosplayer type. But it's good fun. It romps along. It's the direct-to-DVD sort of romp that you expect it's going to be. And yeah, it falls apart a little bit here and there. Sometimes it jogs in place a bit too long, but fun, hand that rocks the cradle-like theatrics. Don't expect this to like set the box office ablaze or anything like that, but it's going to do gangbusters on Netflix and or Sky Cinema. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, the trailer looks a little bit like there might be some bits of comedy in there as well, here and there.
There's some deadpan humour to it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I just keep thinking back on some of the stuff that they have the Megan Fox bot do, because they do lean into the gag. They're very aware of the gag of, look, we're doing the fembot psycho thriller, and we got Megan Fox, and it's called Subservience. So this DVD, in the good old days, this DVD would have flown off the shelf. Like, you would never have had this in stock at Blockbuster kind of thing. Like, it would always, every copy would always be out. Like, it's very much catering to its central gag on an almost Snakes on a Plane-like level. It's one of those movies that's 95 minutes long, and I think it's literally 11 minutes into the movie before Dad accidentally wanders in on Megan Fox, in a state of undress. You're like, okay, they are clearly in on the gag at this stage. I mean, there's a sequence 40 minutes into this when it starts to get really psycho-thrillery that honestly took me back to Splice. There's a sex scene in the movie Splice from 2011. I think it was 2011. That this honestly reminded me of. And I'm like, this is so wonderfully creepy. I love it. Just keep going with this. In the same way that Splice was just a harkened back throwback to the days of the VHS classic. This feels like a harkened back throwback to the days of like the mid 2000s straight to DVD classic, sort of what you got around the era of Snakes on a Plane, and I'm down for it. Good times.
There you go. Subservience on digital from today. Go and search it out. It sounds like a good one to watch. Right, we've still got Speak No Evil and Lee to talk about. Next, though, we're going to look at Rebel Ridge. We'll see what Van thought. Stay where you are. So, hello and welcome back to Offscreen. Let's move swiftly on to our next movie this week, and that is Rebel Ridge, a crime action thriller from what I can make out. I don't really know much about this, actually, but the trailer makes it look quite action-y, I suppose.
So, this is a really strange one because it basically has the plot of the plot, something like a WWE made action movie, like a so like Walking Tall. It's basically the plot of Walking Tall. So you've got Aaron Pierre, who, by complete coincidence to this being the week of James Earl Jones's passing, has the role of Mufasa in the upcoming Lion prequel. The one that's coming, the actual Mufasa movie that's coming this year.
Yes.
He's playing Mufasa. And he's got grandeur, believe me. He plays an ex-Marine who... This is meant to be the sort of subject of some mystery, but IMDb just lists him as a sort of ex-Marine who rolls into a small Oklahoma town to pay his cousin's bail. A cousin who's, he's the only point of family for, has been arrested on a low-scale like drug possession charge and just needs bailing out. He rolls into town, is accosted by two racist local policemen, and has his bail money taken away from him, and learns that they actually have such a level of corruption in town that they can trump up any charge and claim it as a drug seizure. And this starts a sort of campaign of bullying that's very kind of like what John Rambo goes through in First Blood, where the local town law enforcement just takes issue to him, and he starts to fall afoul of the corrupt local sheriff played by Don Johnson. And before you can say, well, WWE era action movie, this all leads to just a rampant roaring romp of revenge. Have a listen to this, all of which, by the way, comes to us from the writer-director of, and I am not making this up, Blue Ruin and Green Room. So have a listen to Rebel Ridge.
PACE. Ever heard of it? It's a plan and methodology used for comm systems, but they found it could be applied anywhere. Nursing, engineering, parachute infiltrations, posting bail. So the P is for primary. That's me, riding into town with my bag of money. A is for alternate. That's a deal we apparently never made. C is my contingency. That's the restaurant owner you put out of business this morning. And there it is. Spot on too, like you just ate. Anyway, you got me burning through all these letters. And after this conversation, we already on E. You know what that stands for?
With a voice like that, you can tell why he's Mufasa, can't you? Like, he absolutely suits that part. But looking at the trailer of this looks like a really good action movie, actually. And it does look like there's some quite, grim things that happen. I just saw someone's arm nearly got broken.
That's kind of the really fun part about it. So what you have is a movie that kind of plays like Walking Tall or Roadhouse, right? In terms of that, perfectly good fun, but, not exactly, substantially deep in terms of what, the great pantheon of cinema. It's got basically that for the story. But the whole thing, because it's Jeremy Saulnier and just the level on which Jeremy Saulnier operates, this comes with a very specific visual eye. It is played in quite a more highbrow way. It is all captured as if drama. And that's the fun of it. And by going for drama in the face of cold brutality, what it does is inadvertently enhances that brutality. Think about, for instance, how The Guest was shot, for instance. How Adam Wingard shot The Guest with Dan Stevens back in, I think it was 2014. And it was a very similar pitch, but that had the synthwave thing going over the top of it. This, instead of that synthwave power, goes for something like the Rambo First Blood aesthetic, the sort of Vancouver washed-out woodlands kind of vibe. You've got a pretty fun supporting cast in there as well. That includes David Denham, Anna Sophia Robb, who was the child actress in the 2000s in loads of family-friendly movies in the 2000s. You remember from Disney's Escape to Witch Mountain, I think, remake with Dwayne Johnson back in about 2009, 2010. But all growing up now as the female lead in this, who winds up joining our hero along the way. And then you've got Don Johnson as the Eric Roberts-like villain, and that is great fun. I had good fun with this. I think it's sad to see something like this going out via Netflix now. I think that's a sign that we are truly in doomed times, because Jeremy Saulnier is one of the more interesting filmmakers of, I think, the past decade. I've really enjoyed his previous films. I mean, Green Room is an amp. Did you see Green Room? That's the one with the band that get trapped in the roadhouse filled with neo-Nazis.
No, I don't think I have seen that.
Patrick Stewart was the villain and the leader of the neo-Nazis. It was terrific fun. It starred the late, great Anton Yelchin. You know who died? He played Chekhov in the Star Trek reboots and passed away a few years ago, tragically young. And That was a brilliant movie. That was such good fun. And then before that, you had Blue Ruin, which was just a way more shocking kind of almost like revenge thriller. Really interesting filmmaker. Like this as the third film in that repertoire, I think is really something. I think he has a way of telling stories, just a way of shooting and framing and making his stories look and feel that elevates material that otherwise could seem, as we say, direct to DVD in the 2000s kind of level throwback. And I really love this. This is basically Walking Tall for Guardian readers, if you can imagine such a thing. Like bang on like that. And I'm so down with it because I think Aaron Pierre is a really fun lead. And like you can tell from the voice, right? Like he has that commanding thing. And that clip is when he starts to break his otherwise sort of icy veneer and he starts to lean into, that Liam Neeson in Taken level fun. But you would enjoy this, my man. And it's on Netflix, so you can watch it right now.
So basically nothing too deep, but actually a really good action thriller.
But presented and paced for you and told with depth. Like that's kind of the fun of it by actually concentrating and look. First and foremost, we're doing this as drama with tension. And then the action to this is secondary. We are playing that as simply a matter of fact in this cold reality. And it goes to levels, it goes to extremes, but it does kind of still hold that look with the drama first and foremost kind of sensibility. And that feels uniquely in keeping with Jeremy Saulnier to me. Like I say, you want to watch Green Room as well. Just watch all of the Jeremy Saulnier movies. There's not a bad one. Honestly, the guy makes good movies, and this is worthy of that inclusion in there.
Well, you can not have to leave your sofa to watch it. As Van said, it's on Netflix from today. Just look out for Rebel Ridge. Right, we're going to talk about Lee still in a bit, but next, Speak No Evil. We'll see what Van thought to that in a minute. Stay there.
Now it's time for a segment we like to call Off-Screen Pays the Bills. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Van. So, what's going on?
Hey, nothing going on but the rent. You know how it is. Now, this week, we're finally getting to see just how creepy James McAvoy really is in Speak No Evil. But one supposed evil we speak a lot about generally is AI, and it's not the easiest of conversations, doubly so if you're trying to explain it to the children in your life. Luckily, our sponsors this week are here to rescue you with the AI for Kids podcast, a show that transforms complex AI concepts into episodes chock full of fun and edutainment tailored for young audiences. It's the perfect way to introduce kids of all ages to the world of AI. Each episode sees industry experts diving into weighty topics like machine learning, robotics, and the future of AI, but specifically crafted to spark young imaginations. Packed with special guests, exciting projects, and interactive challenges, the AI for Kids podcast sees to it that learning stays dynamic, hands-on, and above all, fun. It's the ideal combination of education and entertainment. Kids get to find some heady AI concepts becoming easy and enjoyable, while parents and educators can treasure the insightful discussions and engaging activities they can explore together at home, resulting in a learning journey for everyone. So whether you've got a curious kid eager to learn about robots and algorithms, or you're the parent looking to understand the tech that's going to define their future, the AI for Kids podcast is your go-to resource. So start your child's adventure into the future by tuning in on your favourite podcast platform today. And as a thanks to our sponsors this week at Mochi Health. If you're looking for a real holistic way to lose weight, Mochi's the way to go. You get access to board-certified doctors, nutrition consultants, and even have your meds delivered right to your door. They offer science-backed options, including GLP-1s like Ozempic and more affordable generic versions. Best of all, it's super accessible and affordable, even if your insurance doesn't cover it. Plus, with Mochi, their dietitians team up with your medication to create a nutrition plan that actually fits your lifestyle. It's all about making easy, sustainable changes that help you hit your weight loss goals, and they give you all the support you need along the way. So check it out today at joinmochi.com. That's joinmochi.com. And use the code OFFSCREEN for $40 off your first month. That's joinmochi.com and use the code OFFSCREEN for $40 off your first month. And now, back to the show.
Hello and welcome back to Offscreen. Okay, let's dive straight into our next movie, Speak No Evil. It's probably one of my favourite genres, a psychological horror and psychological thriller. It stars James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis and Scoot McNairy. So tell us all about it. It looks like a fab film, if I'm honest.
Well, it is a fab film. I'm not going to bury the lead on that one. So, right. Obviously, there are two versions of this. This is a remake of I think it was a Danish film from 2022. Got released in the UK for us, I believe, via Shudder last year, so 2023. And because it went out through Shudder, didn't necessarily get the big mainstream coverage that it should have, and in my opinion, deserves. I had not seen that Danish version before I saw this English language version, because apparently it was going to be different enough that it stood apart. Also, I thought, actually, if it's subtitled, it's more interesting because I can take it as a completely different film. After the fact, it's an interesting experiment. Didn't count on the fact that the Danish version is actually still in English. It's worth noting, and I discovered that after watching this. So, not a subtitled film. Right. So, this is directed by James Watkins, who previously gave us Eden Lake in 2008, with, I think, Kelly Riley and Michael Fassbender, which is a really good horror movie and turned out to be a real launch pad for Jack O'Connell. Not one of my favourite actors, but I do admit he's fabulous in that film. He also then directed The Woman in Black with Daniel Radcliffe, the first film, Woman in Black, in 2011, I believe. And has now directed this English language adaptation of the 2022 Danish film, which stars James McAvoy and Ashton Franciosi from The Nightingale as one couple from the West Country who are on holiday, and they meet an American couple who also live in England. And the American couple are Scoot McNairy and Mackenzie Davis. They become like vacation friends, like two families who have kids around the same age that just meet on holiday on the continent. And they say, as James McAvoy says, if you've never been to the West Country, it's beautiful. You should come and visit us sometime. And because the American couple in the UK are on sort of relatively hard times, like they had going through job transitions and things like that, they decide, what we could do with the getaway, let's take them up on it. And no sooner have they gotten there than they discover there's actually a whole other side to these vacation friends than they might have been led to believe. And yes, before long, there is certainly evil of which we must not speak. Have a listen to a little sizzle from Speak No Evil.
Cold water therapy, proven to boost the immune system.
And we didn't bring our swimsuits.
Oh, that's all right. You can keep your knickers on.
You shouldn't be shy, Louise. Got a great body.
Oh, thank you.
I admire you. Louise is a great woman. I've always wanted a family like yours.
Mom, something's not right with him.
No! What is wrong with you?
Do you know, I think the thing that would make this a really good psychological thriller is the fact that actually that's relatable. We've all gone on holiday and we've all met someone or a family that we think is really nice, and you spend a couple of days with them and have a few drinks and you go, oh, actually, no, not my person at all.
It's exactly that. It's quite a classical psycho thriller story, and want to say I hadn't considered the original Danish version would be in English because of the cross-cultural element. Obviously, in the case of the English language remake here, you've got an American couple and a British couple. They both happen to live in the UK, so that's why they meet. In the original version, it was a Dutch couple and a Danish couple, and they both spoke in English as sort of qualifying in between language. And so, that's why it hadn't occurred to me about the original. This is really good, and having now seen both versions as well, I can tell you they do stand apart in the third act, but they are mostly beat for beat, even aesthetically, tonally, and performatively, playing to similar beats. The casting of the English language version is quite a bit more. It's a bit more mainstream Hollywood in a slight way, but it's impossible to deny the fun of James McAvoy in Psycho Mode, which you can hear he lets slip very quickly. I mean, you must have seen Split, I would imagine, with McAvoy.
Yes. Oh, that's what made me love him so much.
Yeah, because he goes full tilt boogie in Split.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, proper nuts. And you get to see some of that here. But the Danish one goes for a bit more of a psychosexual bent at times. This one goes for a lot more of a toxic masculinity bent and sees McAvoy channeling a lot of that sort of Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate-like mentality about the roles of men and the positions of women and things like that. And it's a lot more overt to the English language version. And McAvoy is quite clearly going in on that very negative, very toxically male element of the role, and it does lead for quite a different film. James Watkins, I say, did make Eden Lake, which had that sort of woodsy, chiller aesthetic, and then he made The Woman in Black, which had that very sort of internalized, castle-like, stately home horror aesthetic. And you get to see a bit of both of that at play here, and I think it leads to some sort of quite sort of rollicking fun. Like, I went along with it. I had a good time with it. I don't really have much of a complaint about it, to be honest. It's just a story that works. It is just a good time fun. It feels like the kind of thing that I'm surprised Shyamalan didn't try to do the English language remake of, because it has a bit of that. We're nudging in his direction, in a sense. But then again, I don't think there's enough of a sort of twisty, turny nature going for it to quite match up to the level of Shyamalan, though. But do you aware of Scoot McNairy? Because Scoot McNairy's kind of been away for a few years. He had quite a good run in the 2010s.
No, I don't know who Scoot McNairy is.
Scoot McNairy turned up in a bunch of acclaimed cable dramas and movies, and I believe was in Batman v Superman. I think was weird, a weirdly big one for him, where he was the guy that had been injured in the all the DC double and aftermath and nonsense. Blew himself up in the jar of pee sequence in Batman v Superman, if you remember that. Anyway, really gets to play the sort of soy boy beta cuck type foil to James McAvoy. He's kind of he's the patriarch of our sort of POV couple. He's the dad of our point of view family. And he's the sort of put upon, kind of having been cheated on, soy boy, yes man husband, to Mackenzie Davis's a lot more assertive and aggressive American wife figure. And they sort of prove at odds with Aisling Franciosi as the sort of a kind of more traditionally confined beta kind of wife figure, and James McAvoy's toxic kind of patriarch. And it's a good balance, and they all play it very well. Mackenzie Davis in particular kind of leans into the Karen of it without sort of forgetting to have fun. She does get to have some fun with it.
She looks a lot like Kate Winslet, doesn't she?
There is a sort of a young, statuesque Kate Winslet thing going on there. She's someone that I feel like I hadn't seen in a movie since, what was that? The LGBT holiday rom-com one from a few years ago with Kristen Stewart that turned out to be a bit of a banger. I forget what it was. I haven't seen her anything since that. And by the way, her character was awful in that, but that's just the unfounded movie. But greatest season, something like that. And we'll have to look up what that movie was in time for the holidays. But yes, really good. I will say, do watch both versions, because it's a story that works alternatively in both forms. It's an interesting exercise. In the case for you personally, my friend, you don't have to worry about the subtitles, as I say, because it is in English. So you can watch a version of it, and I think they're equally good. I think they're different and equally good at the same time. But really good fun. McAvoy owns it. And even if he didn't, I think there's enough fun going around amongst the other cast as well.
Well, this one is actually out in cinemas, and it came out yesterday. So if you want to go and see it, just look out for Speak No Evil. We have got one last movie to look at this week. We're going to look at the movie called Lee. Now, that is a biography, and we're going to see what Van thought about it in just a second. Stay where you are. Hello and welcome back to Offscreen for one last ride. Sometimes I wish that our conversations between takes is recorded, because I literally just said, all right then, Van, we'll do the next one. We're going to talk about Lee, and the trailer's playing, and I said, oh, my goodness, there's someone in this movie as well that looks like Kate Winslet. And then you said...
This one actually is Kate Winslet, my friend. Yes.
So yes, Kate Winslet is in this biography about the photographer Lee Miller. I know nothing about Lee Miller, so over to you.
Strap on in for this one, actually. Really fascinating story. So Lee Miller was a former model turned photographer who, at the onset of World War II, became the first female war journalist of prominence and did it all for Vogue, going across war-torn Europe to the front at great risk to herself, being given no real consideration by the armed forces, having to fight tooth and nail for every bit of access that she was granted. Like I say, putting herself in jeopardy every chance she got. And she started to hear about these mysterious cases of people disappearing. let's just say, in large numbers and never returning. Do you spot the story that I'm alluding to here? Which, of course, then leads to her being one of the first people shown the remains of the liberated concentration camps and everything that they saw when they got there, and taking the pictures that would go on to define historical record and what we know of the Holocaust. I've got a clip for you saying she's played for the screen by Kate Winslet. Have a listen. You may also hear in this clip as well Andy Samberg as her fellow photographer. I believe he's David Ehrlich, and you can hear him in this clip as well from Lee.
It happened so slowly. Yeah, kind of overnight.
We woke up one morning and Europe was at war.
Only non-military access for women.
I just want to do my part. Why should the men get to decide what that is?
I'm heading to the front. Ready to go?
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
We drove into the worst of it all.
Need a light over here?
Here.
I stay away from that window. They got snipers.
Everyone's gone.
Do you know, I do think that, and I've not seen the movie obviously yet, but I do think Kate Winslet sounds like the perfect person to play her, because she's good at that kind of stalwart, strong character in everything that she does, and I'm assuming that is how this is portrayed.
Yeah, with a lot of sass. Like the one defining attribute of the character, as we are shown throughout the film, is that she was quite a brash, very sassy woman. Like she really held her own against literally everyone she spoke to, as the story depicts. And we are told her story as bookended by in conversation with what appears to be a journalist played by Josh O'Connor, as she tells him the story of ultimately how she went to the front and her entire career. You will have also heard in the clip as well Alexander Skarsgård as her husband there. Andy Samberg, I think, is my favourite part of the movie. It's seeing him do drama and seeing him do this well in it, and standing toe-to-toe with Andrea Riseborough as well, who steals the scene as the editor of Vogue, steals every scene that she's in. But Winslet is clearly going to have some fun. I don't think the film is necessarily as good as the performances deserve. I think the performances call for a stronger film. And that's not really necessarily a fault, I think, on the direction of it necessarily, right? or the staging of it. I think the story just doesn't quite work in line with the quality of everything else. The explanation, the sort of backstory for why Kate Winslet's character, for instance, why Lee Miller was the person that she was, and why Kate Winslet's performance is informed the way it is structured, I think, quite poorly. And it feels kind of tacked on. It feels like an almost, we need to explain that kind of afterthought. Even though Winslet herself delivers a performance that absolutely nails it regardless. Even though that performance absolutely is up to making it work, it feels like that performance is doing the lifting for what otherwise feels like quite bolted on, like afterthought level writing. And that's more of a testament to Winslet and, say, the direction than it is the screenplay. You do feel like this needed another go, this needed another look on the writing front that the cast otherwise do manage to pull off.
I just love the fact that this is being aired, really. I think it's a really important story to be told.
Well, the weird one with this is a Sky Cinema release. So this is in cinemas now, and this is going to be coming to Sky Cinema sooner rather than later. That's kind of how they work. It's like Ferrari did, for instance, in cinemas, was on Sky Cinema a matter of weeks later. So expect to see this go in the same way. So if you're a Sky Cinema subscriber, you'll get to see this very soon. I think it's a solid movie. I don't necessarily think we're going to hear about this one around awards season. When it's Kate Winslet, you assume obviously this is the kind of thing that Kate Winslet does, because we're going to be in awards season soon enough. So we're going to need her designated film for the year, and this I don't think is up to that task. But I will say I do think the supporting cast in it as well. I do think they are very good, and I just wish it was a better written film, which is a shame because I was interested. I think it's quite an inspiring story as well. And I didn't know. I didn't even know that Vogue necessarily had war journalists back then. I didn't know as well that the first female ones went back to World War II of all times. And the story of the concentration camp element of this and the way that it is unfolded, the mystery that we obviously know the historical answer to, I thought that was pulled off quite well. It really is in the character drama, I think, the writing starts to fall apart. And that's a shame given how the sort of historical element of the screen of the story for the screen is written.
Well, you can check it out yourself. As Van said, it's in cinemas from today.
Bit of trivia as well. It's like when I was talking about how it wasn't badly directed, it's directed by Ellen Kurras as well, who I did find out directed the Anna Delvey series on Netflix that I was briefly so obsessed with, Inventing Anna. The the story of the fake heiress who fleeced all of her friends out like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and she made that series, and she's not skipped a beat because this has got some of that going for it as well, some of that vibe.
Well, go and check it out in cinemas from today. All right, let's have a quick chat about movie of the week. I can tell you the movie I'm most looking forward to seeing, and that is Lee. I absolutely really want to see that out of all of them today. But what would you say would be your movie of the week, because you've seen them all?
Oh, I mean, I really like Rebel Ridge. To be honest, I thought Rebel Ridge was tons of fun. I think that one, the fact that it's on Netflix already, I would say that's going to be worthy of a look. Besides that, I say Speak No Evil. I had a really good time with Speak No Evil. Like, definitely check that one out.
Well, there you go. Let's have a quick nosy at what we've got coming up on the show next week before we disappear. Sugarcane.
Yeah, Sugarcane is the story of an investigation into abuse at an Indian children's school, I believe. And that just sounds absolutely harrowing. We have also got The Substance next week, which is the creepy, almost Nicholas Winding Refn looking Demi Moore movie that's coming out. It's got Margaret Qualley in it as well, and Dennis Quaid, which is that one just looks quirky and odd and weird. I'm kind of down for it. Strange Darling, which is a sort of a neon-y kind of a thriller, is also out next week. I'm looking forward to that one. I keep hearing some low-key buzz about that. And Cyborg, a documentary. This one, I feel like I saw this at DocFest ages ago, and I've made notes about it somewhere, and I've since kind of forgotten. I'm going to revisit it anyway. There's a documentary. I think I've just seen the guy turn up in a different documentary about the same subject, is what's happened. It is about a guy who basically created the brain chip that allowed him to electronically interface, like with a computer, to allow his brain impulses to actually have corresponding computer signals. And effectively, this qualified him as being, the world's first cyborg, because he actually pulled this off. It's about, I think I saw him in a documentary about robotics, and this just happens to be a documentary specifically about him. I think that's what's happened, but we're going to get to talk about that next week, and I'm hoping to try and snag some time with the director, but I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting. Looking forward to all of those, actually. But that is, of course, all we have time for this time round. We will return next week. Until then, I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.